friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. Today we are at my mom's house actually. My mom is like, we gotta work. So she's gonna be working behind me as I go through and kind of explain what we're gonna be doing. Today we're prepping for a pretty large party on the 4th of July. We're gonna be celebrating 2 birthdays, the 4th of July and actually a graduation, my husband's graduation, but he doesn't know about that yet, so it's gonna be a surprise for him. And we're actually gonna be camping 2 days after this huge party. So I'm gonna be showing you how we're gonna be also prepping for that at the same time and trying to use our time wisely and efficiently. You guys say you wanna see kind of what's going on around the periphery. Well, I'm gonna show you what's going on around the periphery. The menu for the party is gonna be brisket. I actually brought over the brisket from when I order half a cow. My husband and I can't eat a whole brisket, so typically for my birthday, I will give it to my mom and she will cook it so we can have it at a party. We're also gonna be having macaroni and cheese, baked beans, corn on the cob, which we're gonna be prepping for camping. So we're making way extra corn on the cob so we can use that corn to make a street corn salad salsa thing for camping. We're going to have Caesar salad, fruit, a veggie plate, a cherry pie, and ice cream sandwiches. I already filmed a whole ice cream sandwich video, so if you want to watch that, it's up here and down in the description box below. If you watch the video that came out right before this, you'll see actually my mom goes step by step on how she plans a hassle-free party, and that video will also be linked up here and down below if you're interested in checking that out. We're also going to be prepping a few things for camping, and the camping things are we need to make a couple different seasonings for a couple different recipes. We did do a few things yesterday to prep to make our life a little bit easier. One, we got the brisket out of the freezer so that the brisket would be nice and thawed and ready to go for us today. We got the ice cream sandwiches made. We prepped the corn. I think that's it. So one of our tips is always to get your meat out the day before if you can, but we forgot to get the meat out for the tacos. So my mom's just gonna throw that in the defroster real quick so we can get on that on the stove. Now we're gonna be getting the spice blends made for the taco meat and for the brisket. So we're gonna be doing all that at one time, so we only have to get the spices out one time. This taco seasoning recipe is the one that you've seen me use in some of my videos, and I am gonna make a whole video on it, but I don't have that out yet. But I will link the recipe down in the description box below, along with all the other recipes that you're gonna see in this video today.
Contrary to my daughter, I measure mostly just to get an idea of proportions. And these are the awesomest, the most awesome measuring spoons because they fit in my jars. I have these jars that I refill, and then I have bags of what the refills are of my most common spices so that I don't run out. I don't like to run out in the middle of a recipe.
While my mom's making that taco seasoning, I went ahead and grated the cheese. I'm gonna go ahead and get the macaroni and cheese started along with the taco meat because that's gonna be both on the stove and I can watch and manage both of those at the same time. We are gonna go ahead and get the white sauce made for the macaroni and cheese, and I actually just had to look that up on my blog, Scratch Pantry. And if you're interested in checking that out, one thing that I wanted to really try to do with that blog is, you know when sometimes you look for recipes on blogs and you have to like scroll to find the recipe, and you can click that button, jump to recipe, but sometimes the scrolling can be kind of frustrating, and when you do a lot of cooking, I don't know, that's for some reason a pet peeve of mine. So mine, when you click on the recipe, it's gonna be right there. You don't have to worry about the whole scrolling process.
Yay!
We're gonna put a half a cup of butter in here and a half a cup of flour when this melts. My mom being the voice of reason, don't leave glass on the stove.
When I was mixing all the spices, I got them all out, what I needed for both recipes. I made them all. I refilled my jars with the bulk spices. I've done 3 things. I don't have to, next time I want to get cumin, I've already refilled it. So I've got that all filled up, and now I'm just gonna take care of my empties and put it all away.
So I let this butter go a little bit too long, and I kind of turned it into brown butter. So it's gonna be like a brown butter macaroni and cheese, which is actually, I think, gonna be pretty delicious. This is not gonna go to waste. So I just put a half a cup of flour in here, and we're gonna cook this. I turned the temperature way down. We're gonna add a cup and a half. This is half and half, but you could use whatever you have on hand. It's a party, so we're gonna make this pretty decadent. This is a cup and a half of milk, or half and half. And I just put a pot of boiling water on. If I was thinking through better, what I would have done was put this on first for the pasta. I don't know if my proportions are right on this. How much cheese I say to put into it. I sure say to put a lot. My mom is adding a tablespoon of mustard. I just tasted this brown butter roux, and that might be a new thing. We're gonna add some salt, a good amount of black pepper, and a whole lot of cheese. That's Parmesan. This is Monterey Jack and cheddar. I did turn the heat off because you don't want to have the heat on when you're stirring in the cheese. This doesn't seem right.
I don't know.
Well, that's what it is. Tastes good.
I'm prepping a marinade for tri-tips that we're going to have camping. Now, I can't marinate the tri-tips right now because it'll be a week before we eat it. The marinade consists of the coconut aminos and dry seasonings. So I'm going to measure the dry seasonings into the baggie, then I'm going to rubber band it onto the coconut aminos, which does not have to be refrigerated. So this can just go in my tree for camping. This marinade for tri-tip originally came from a steakhouse in Portland, one of our favorite restaurants. So they use soy sauce. I'm using coconut aminos because we've got some allergies with some grandkids. So the recipe consists of cumin, and I'm going to put about a nice rounded tablespoon of garlic, black pepper, and salt. A very basic, simple recipe. So now I will marinate it half an hour before we eat.
This obviously does not look right for a creamy sauce. I am like, what did I do wrong? Did I write the recipe wrong? Have you guys been looking at the recipe and it's completely wrong? Well, no, I didn't follow the recipe. I completely forgot to add 2.5 cups of milk. We're gonna see if we can salvage that cheese mixture because that's a lot of cheese to waste. So I'm gonna make a little bit more of a roux here. I just put about 2 tablespoons of butter in here and a couple tablespoons of flour. When a recipe calls for browning your meat, it doesn't mean you just want your meat brown. You want it browned. There's actually a reaction that happens when meat kind of caramelizes and you get that really dark caramel color on meat. And that's actually called the Maillard reaction after the chemist who discovered this reaction. And when you brown your meat and you get it that caramely, toasty, dark brown color, the carbohydrates and proteins, something happens to them. It creates a natural compound called glutamate, which is that savory flavor, that umami flavor, which is basically what MSG is. MSG is like a condensed version of glutamate because MSG stands for modium sodium glutamate. So you can have natural glutamates formed in your food. It doesn't mean you're adding MSG or you have MSG because that's like a synthetic version or I don't know, it's a lab version. When you want your food to have that really savory umami flavor, when you're cooking, it doesn't just have to be meat. It could be like mushrooms and onions and things like that. You want that caramel brown color because you want that Maillard reaction. This stickage is actually what you want because we'll use some water when we put the taco seasoning in here to deglaze the pan, and that's what we want. My mom just drained the pasta and ran some cold water over it, and I'm gonna see if I can salvage this cream sauce here. So this is now 2.5 cups of milk. Now this is not gonna get near as thick as it should look like because I messed up the recipe. So I just asked my mom, while this is thickening, I'm gonna finish up the taco seasoning. I just asked my mom how much taco seasoning to put in here, and she said just enough for it to look and taste good. So that's how much we're gonna add. I'm gonna add a little bit of water because we're deglazing the pan. We're getting those brown bits up off the pan. We want those brown bits, that's flavor. That is exactly what we want. That's not burnt. Now it can burn if you're not careful, but my absolute favorite resource for learning the proper techniques and where I learned this method is the American Test Kitchen Cooking School Cookbook. I'm gonna link that down below. I've talked about that cookbook in like 4 or 5 different videos because it's gonna teach you those fundamentals so that you kind of know what you're doing and you don't need to necessarily follow a recipe. Now in my case, clearly I didn't follow this recipe and it totally messed up. But I think I know at least enough that I can fix it. And so just by understanding some of those basic fundamentals of recipes, it kind of lets you break out of the mold of following recipes exactly because you know what rules can be broken and what rules can't be broken. And we're gonna go ahead and add some taco seasoning. So I'm adding about 1 cup of that because if you think of like one of those McCormick packets, they're about 1/4 cup. And I need to add salt because there's no salt in that taco seasoning. We're gonna taste the taco meat. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off the heat and I'm gonna let this cool over here. My mom is making a seasoning for a stir fry for while we're camping.
Normally when I make stir fry seasoning, I use fresh ginger and fresh garlic. A little inconvenient for camping. So I've mixed powdered ginger and powdered garlic and cornstarch in this baggie. This is the amount I need for the quote soy sauce. And then I need about 1/4 cup of sesame oil. I'm going to just pour it in here because neither need to be refrigerated and it can just go in my pantry. And this is mixed up and ready to go. I'll rubber band this around like I did the other. Okay, now we're at the campsite and we're gonna have stir-fry vegetables. I'm going to put a little olive oil in the pan. I'm gonna stir-fry the vegetables. When they're done enough, I'm gonna pour the aminos, quote, soy sauce and more sesame oil. I'm gonna mix the dry ingredients with water so it's not lumpy. Then I'm gonna put it all in, stir it all up. The chicken's on the grill, rice is in a pot, and we'll have a yummy dinner.
We like to eat well while we are camping. I just dropped that in there.
I got the taco meat in the plastic bag. I'm going to squeeze the air out, lay it flat, and then I'm going to freeze it flat. And that way it works as ice in the cooler.
Now I think it's time to add this lumpy cheese mixture that I completely messed up on to our milk mixture. I turn the heat off. What I fear is that it's gonna separate and the fat from the cheese is gonna split the sauce. So let's cross our fingers and hopefully this works out. It's looking okay so far. I think I may have been able to save it. You guys, I think we may have done it. We have a little bit more to go here. We saved it. This is so much better looking than that gross, gloppy, cheesy mixture. This is perfect. This is exactly what we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the noodle mixture into here and I'm gonna attempt to stir it in here. Oh no, that's not gonna work.
Oh, put it in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to. But
Let's do it over the sink.
And make your life easier. Now we're gonna add this into our baking dish. That looks so much better than it did 15 minutes ago. I'm gonna put some corn flakes on here. The recipe calls for breadcrumbs, but we don't have those, so we have some stale corn flakes in the pantry, so we're gonna go ahead and put them in here. My mom crushed them up for me. I'm gonna put a little bit more Parmesan cheese on the top.
And I'm gonna have a lick from the spatula.
And we're gonna put a little bit more of the Monterey Jack cheese. So my mom and I decided 2 desserts is not enough, so we are gonna go call an audible and we're gonna go run down to the farmer's market and get some fresh strawberries, and my mom wants to make some strawberry shortcake. And we're gonna grab a pastry while we're at it. And if you guys watched my last video, you'll know that we rescued a little puppy and we found the owners just about 10 minutes ago. He came and picked up the pup. All is well in the world. I will always stop for a dog because I have 3 dogs and I just hope someone would do that for me. So I always want to try to do that if I find a lost dog. I actually wanted to mention to you guys while we're here as well, my dad and sister and nephews are over at my house picking my blueberries. I was kind of stressing about being able to get those blueberries picked before we head camping because they're perfect ripeness right now.
All right, Dad, show off all the blueberries you've picked.
Well, check this out. I've already got 1 entire box filled. There's a lot of blueberries on these bushes.
And I have 1 filled over here. And we've picked this tree and the tree back there and most of this tree. And now we're working on these 2. And you can see there's going to definitely be a second harvest in a couple of weeks of even more blueberries.
So while we were walking around the farmer's market, we realized that my mom has a bunch of frozen marionberries in the house and we're running out of freezer space. So we're gonna just make a Marionberry Crisp from freezers she already has in the house.
And the fresh ones are in now, and I don't have any room to put any new ones in, so I've got to use up the last.
Oh, are these from last year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so we basically just went on a coffee and pastry run. So now
Yummy.
we're gonna go back to the house and back to work. My mom is working on the baked beans for the party. She's gonna double it so that we have baked beans for the party and for while we're camping. And then I'm just making some pastry dough and I'm gonna make a couple cherry galettes.
Okay, there's the beans for the camp out.
Yesterday, my mom cooked the bacon. She has onions and bacon in here. She's gonna split this in half for the party, half for the camp out. I'm gonna pop these in the fridge while I make the pie filling. My mom got distracted, so she's still working on the beans. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the crisp. 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of oats, and mix together. Oh, salt. And mix together. Oh, flour. And 1 cup of flour. I'm using the same measuring spoon I've been using for the pie, so I don't have to dirty another dish because it all has the same kind of ingredients.
I added tomato paste, and now I'm adding garlic.
I'll get out of your way. And this is done.
For the camping trip, this is pantry safe, and the onions and bacon go in the cooler.
We were gonna make a cherry pie, but then I decided I wanted to make a cherry galette, but then I decided I'm gonna make a cherry pie. I just like to put a little bit of water around my pastry to ensure a good seal between my bottom crust and my top crust. You always want excess dough on the outside so that you can take both ends and tuck it up underneath. That's gonna let you make a nice pretty edge and ensure a nice seal. See how I'm taking both pieces and tucking up underneath? And then you're gonna take your, what is this, your pointer finger? And then you wanna take your pointer finger and your thumb and your other pointer finger, and you're gonna put it in between like this. And you're gonna get yourself a pretty design. My fingernails are a little bit long right now, so it's making a little indent, but that'll be okay. We're gonna put a few vent holes, and I like to do chicken feet.
Well, that's cute.
We're gonna stick this pie in a 400-degree oven until it's done. We're gonna get the Caesar salad dressing made. This is my mom's famous Caesar salad dressing. It's more like a vinaigrette Caesar instead of like a creamy one. So it's equal parts Parmesan cheese, lemon juice, and olive oil. So we have the lemon juice and cheese in here. I'm gonna put about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, about a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire, and I probably have about a cup of lemon juice and a cup of Parmesan cheese in here. Traditional Caesar dressing is made with anchovies and Worcestershire. I think I said that correctly. A couple of you guys have commented on how I pronounce Worcestershire, because I think I used to say Worcestershire, but I'm pretty sure it's Worcestershire. It's actually made with fermented anchovies. That's what it is. It's fermented anchovies, onions, and molasses. That's why it has kind of a sweet flavor to it. It gives you that kind of like funky umami traditional Caesar dressing flavor without having to add actual anchovies into the Caesar dressing. A good amount of black pepper and salt. So the dressing is prepped and ready to go. We just have to add the oil tomorrow, and we'll throw it in the blender and blend it up so that it's kind of emulsified. So I'm gonna stick this in the fridge. One more thing done. So we're gonna go ahead and make the Cranberry Crisp. These are Cranberries. I put about 1/2 cup of tapioca in here, and this is a 9x13. You might hear my nephews in the background playing. They just got here. So lunch just got here. So I'm gonna try to get this in the oven before we eat lunch. And then we're just gonna put the crumble top on. We're gonna throw this in a 350-degree oven until really bubbly.
You have to spread it out.
Oh, my mom's fixing my work. Now that it's perfected, we're gonna throw it in the oven. So we're still waiting on lunch to come, and we got the kitchen basically cleaned up. The only thing we have to do is put the seasoning on the brisket, the seasoning that my mom made earlier, and I just went and weighed both of the briskets so we know how much they weigh, so my mom can calculate what time she needs to put the briskets on the calculator. And I had to do the scale method where I stand on the scale. Oh, briskets on the smoker, not the calculator. I had to calculate the weight by standing on the scale, holding the brisket, taking it off, and doing the math on that. My mom is gonna sit down and work on a timeline so that she knows when everything needs to go in the oven, because we basically got everything done. So I think the only things that we have to really worry about are just a couple things. It's just the brisket, knowing what time to get that on the Traeger, what time to put the macaroni cheese in the oven. I think you're probably just gonna start the crock pot for the beans in the morning.
Mm-hmm. And the corn.
And the corn. And that's basically it, right?
Yep.
Yep. So I'm gonna head home and I'm gonna work on a video. My mom just has those couple things she's gonna do. And then I think my dad, he's the master. Are you okay being in the video?
Sure.
My dad over here, he's the one that's been picking all those blueberries. He's really good about helping my mom when there's a party. He really likes to sweep and mop and get the house ready for her. And then I will see you guys back tomorrow when we are actually putting the dinner together. So I just got to my mom's house and my mom did write a timeline, so she's gonna go over what that looks like. I'm gonna show you what's been done, and basically everything is set and ready to go, I think.
I did a bit after Becky left last night. I created my timeline. I always include my full menu on the timeline because more than once, before I used to do this, the dinner would get done, I would go to the kitchen or go to the refrigerator to get something for dessert, and then I'd see a side dish or a salad I forgot to serve. So anyway, there's the whole menu, there's the drink menu, and then this is the actual timeline. You start from the back of what time you want to serve dinner, figure out how long everything takes, and create it backwards. So first thing I did was start the Traeger. Real key to me to be able to enjoy my guests when they arrive is to set an alarm for each of these times on my phone so that I can talk to my guests and not trying to keep in the back of my mind, oh, it's 7:30, I need to do such and such. So when I'm about visiting with folks and my alarm rings, then I know to come and look and see what it is I'm supposed to do next. And then if I have them set for everything, nothing will be forgotten and nothing will be left out. Here's the Traeger. I have 2 briskets smoking right now. And here's the gas grill. I will do the corn on the cob on the gas grill when my alarm rings and reminds me it's time to start.
So here are the desserts my mom took out of the oven. We knew the pie was done when it was bubbling out of the top. And the nice thing about when you use glass for a pie is you can actually check the bottom and see if it's done, and that is nice and done. It's actually showing up darker on film than it is in person, but you can make sure you don't have a soggy bottom on your crust when you're making a pie. And here's the crisp. My mom knew that this was done when it was all bubbly and when it was nice and browned. My mom set up just some veggies and some fruit for snacks and a couple muffins. So my mom's getting the corn on the grill. She said you turn it on, what, medium, high? Medium? Oh, turn on high heat. You want to turn it every 3 minutes, a quarter turn, and it usually takes about 20 minutes to cook. You'll just open them up, and when they look a little charred, they'll be done. So it's time now to double wrap the briskets. How long have they been on the smoker for, Mom?
I don't recall.
She can't remember how long, but she did the math, so she knows it's time, right?
Yes, and I checked the temperature.
So she's just gonna wrap them in foil twice.
Okay, it's time to check the corn. It's been about 25 minutes. Let's see what it's looking like.
Oh, that looks perfect. Just as a reminder, this corn is being used for 2 things. We're gonna use it for corn on the cob today for the party, and then whatever's not used, we're gonna cut it off the cob and we're gonna use that as a corn salsa while we're camping.
It's a while before the party, but I'm doing this now because it's rather labor intensive. I have to turn it every 3 minutes, and it makes it hard to carry on a conversation. But when you cook corn and it's heated, it keeps hot for a very long time. I'm just going to go put this on my granite countertop. I'm going to throw a towel over it, and it will be hot for hours.
We're gonna go ahead and get the salad dressing made. All right, here's the dinner. We've got the brisket, the baked beans, the macaroni and cheese that just came out of the oven, and look at that bubble. We saved it. Some Caesar salad, fruit, and the corn. All right, friends, just like that, we are ready to sit down and enjoy dinner. We are gonna celebrate 2 birthdays, the 4th of July, and 1 graduation.
And this is one of my favorite days when I get to feed my family and friends and hang out with the people I love the most.
It was pretty low effort on my mom's part today. All she really had to do was turn the beans on, cook the corn, cook the meat, which now that I'm saying this sounds like a lot, but the macaroni and cheese is already done, just had to be put in the oven. I hope you guys found value in this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more what I have going on around here, go ahead and subscribe. If you're new to my channel and you enjoyed this, I hope you consider subscribing. And if you'd like to watch a couple more of my videos, they'll pop up right here. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Happy 4th of July.